Today, we are joined by online teaching guru. She launched the Academy of Culinary Nutrition several years ago. Well over 2,000 certified culinary nutrition experts taught. Meghan Telpner, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Meghan, is absolutely my pleasure. It is absolutely amazing what you have created over the course of the last decade. And I want to kind of backtrack. I want to go back to the future a little bit here. Nutrition had a very significant impact on your life. But when did you decide that you wanted to take your personal experience and give it back and teach others how to replicate that?
Absolutely. Good question. So I experienced a health crisis in 2006. And that was what inspired me to sort of take ownership over my health, go back to school and study holistic nutrition. And after going through an incredible program, learning so much, I felt inspired to share this knowledge. And the best way I could think of to do that was over the dining room table and inviting people into what was my home to cook together and share a meal together. And that was the spark that ignited the cooking school. So I was running in-person classes here in downtown Toronto for about 4 or 5 years until we started transitioning them online. And that's sort of where it began and grew from there.
Love that. So I'm just curious, was there a point where people just kept asking you, Meghan, how are you getting this result? How are you feeling so good?
Well, I think part of it was that I'd had this experience. So in 2006, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is an inflammatory bowel disease. And to this day, now 14 years later, you'll still be told there's
Right,
no known cause, no known cure.
right.
And because I'd experienced a complete reversal of this disease and have remained asymptomatic till now, it was that which was the catalyst for me wanting to basically shout it from the rooftops that we can change the trajectory of our life, fulfill on our optimal potential if we change the way we eat. And so I wasn't shy about sharing my experience. I wasn't shy about sharing, the catalyst for this, which is, what's at the end of your fork, will have a greater impact on your health than anything else and the thoughts we think. And so that was what motivated me. And I also believe that if I was going to come out of this saying to people, well, you have to eat this and you can't eat that, no one was going to pick up what I was throwing down. So I had to make it fun and engaging. And the best way I could think of to do that was to build community around it. And so we built a community here in Toronto in person. And then as the demand grew, I was writing a blog and people were saying, can you video your classes? I'd love to see what you're teaching. Can I just get the recipes? And that was what inspired us to try. And I say us, it was really just me at the time, but inspired me to experiment with going online. So we launched our first course online back in 2012. We actually did our first live stream class, I think around 2011. And we at that point had to bring in like a full crew to make this happen. Like you couldn't just like open your phone and go live to whoever wanted to see it. So we started experimenting with that. And I loved the platform of it. I loved that form of media, that way of sharing it. And it came really naturally to me, sort of understanding the back end and the tech side, and then also how to present in an engaging way. And that was sort of how it evolved to what it is today.
So this makes a lot of sense to me. You were true. I think this is really important. I think when you're getting into any sort of niche, is being true to yourself, doing something that you are certainly passionate about, because people can vibe and they can feel that they can kind of sense that realness, right? The realness. But one of the things I think that's really interesting about your story, Meghan, is you started in real life sitting at the kitchen table, like you had mentioned, because I think nowadays digital course building has become kind of like the hot topics, the hot word. Everyone wants to build this digital course because it's passive income. They just set a course, they never have to touch it again. How important do you think it is for course creators to start in real life before they go digital? Do you think that's crucial?
I think there's a lot of value that comes from interacting with humans.
Mm.
So, presenting your material, finding your voice, finding your groove, getting comfortable in front of an audience, and also being able to learn their reactions and their responses and be able to play off that. Because there's nothing harder than teaching to that little green light on your computer or to a flashing red light on a camera that's recording you. And even when you have a crew in the space, like they're focusing on the technical side, they're not listening to you. So, being able to teach in an engaging way that you have to fill in the blank in your mind of the reaction from your audience and be able to anticipate the questions they're going to ask so that you can answer them before they ask them, because they can't, because it's, unless it's, live and interactive all the time. And also recognize what they want to see doing different things, especially if you're doing a teaching or a practical skills type program, like, I teach cooking, or if you're doing flower arranging or crafting, or that type of thing. You need to anticipate what your audience is going to want to see and make sure that's what they're seeing and that's what you're demonstrating. Because if it's live and in person, someone's watching you, they can, crane their neck to see, or raise their hand right away and be like, can you do that again, or can you repeat yourself? So I think there's definite value in gaining that confidence and experience in whatever the material is and the topic that you're teaching, in a live type setting, as close to live as you can get. Even now, when we can't necessarily gather in large groups close together, if you can do a Zoom meeting as a teaching mechanism where you can actually see people's reactions and have some level of real time engagement, that can be a really beneficial use of time as you're, quote, workshopping whatever it is you want to transition into a more evergreen style, or professionally filmed course, where it's a lot more difficult to make amendments and corrections later on.
Right, right. And I mean, the quality of your content is absolutely spectacular. You can check out a lot of what Meghan is doing on YouTube at Meghan Telpner on YouTube. It's very, very impressive. Hey, Mark here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let YouTube know you're enjoying this video. Let me know you're enjoying this video. All right, let's get back into this episode. I think one of the things that we as creators and entrepreneurs want is we want to make sure that our time is used wisely, right? We're after hours entrepreneurs. We don't have a lot of time to be messing around with all these different things. We want to make sure we get it right the first time. So if I'm a course creator, right, and I have let's say a good knowledge of a topic, I have a good idea of the pain points, the struggles, maybe the gaps in the market, what would be some quick takeaways, some quick tips to make sure that I can actually use my time wisely to launch a course that's going to be successful?
Right. So I think a lot of people spend a lot of time looking at building their lists and their sales funnels and doing all those critical marketing steps. And the course they're doing is garbage. And your course, when it's done well and effectively, ends up selling itself, because someone does it, gains incredible value from it, and then will tell everyone they know they did it and that it was great.
Mm.
So that's really, really critical. And that also enables, we have roughly a 30 to 40% sell through on, we have people go through our program, we create another course. 30 to 40% of our registrants have already done something of ours. So
Mm.
having that built in, knowing that, no matter what I do, I'm going to have, this many sales built into whatever we create, because the reputation of what we do is so strong. So I think what needs to happen before you start your sales funnels and building your lists and doing all these challenges and spending hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads, spend the time creating something that is actually of value to whoever you're going to be selling it to. So, as much time as you spend selling it, you should be spending double that creating something that is of value. And if you don't know, then you do it, a light version, and maybe it's a blog post with the opt-in, or maybe it's a free webinar, and the cost of joining is giving you feedback. And maybe it's workshopping something in a meeting setting so that, it's free to join, you get to practice, and you get that feedback. And it shouldn't just be your friends and family doing it, because they'll just be, no matter what, like applauding along and telling you how wonderful you are and how proud they are. It has to be your ideal client or customer, so that you're getting that value, so that by the time you go to sell to the list you've spent so much time building, and your funnel you spent so much time tweaking and optimizing, that there's going to be a very high success rate. So people who sign up are going to be engaged enough to keep going through the course and feel like they got their money's worth. But also that what you teach will be useful to them, like that it is actually something that they need. You deliver or over deliver on every single point and takeaway you said was included.
So this is really important. I think something that people know instinctively, but they don't actually put into practice. The content is what matters, right? It doesn't matter if 1,000 people take your course. If only one person completes it, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna convert. You're not gonna actually build any sort of long-term equity. And I think that's why Meghan has been absolutely so successful with well over a 90% completion rate, which frankly is unheard of in the industry. It doesn't happen. So that's a huge, huge benefit, huge boon. Thanks for pointing that out. So I want to dive into this a little bit because this is something you hit on, Megan. I think is really, really important. You don't have to dive into tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, building up this huge course, all this stuff. You can maybe start with a small giveaway, small takeaway. You mentioned webinars, but that's one of the ways that you started out, right? One of your key things, which is a short little $10 course, right? So talk us through that because it's going to be hard to actually get your cost of acquisition to actually pay off and get a return on a small course like that. So how do we actually make that work from a fiscal standpoint?
You did your research. So my very first product was a green smoothie cleanse back in 2009, which at that time was like a novel and new exciting idea in the nutrition field. And yes, it's very difficult to get a return on investment with a $10 product. And that was ultimately eventually what inspired me to start creating $300 products and now a $4,000 product with a whole bunch of add-ons. And part of it is that with those lower cost, extremely low barrier to entry products or services, is it's a way of building trust and building
Mm,
confidence. And if you can do that for someone to spend $10 or $20 or, I find there's sort of magic numbers like under $50. Then the next one is if you can go under 200 or under 100, then under 200, then under 500. Keeping courses under $200 is magical. As lower barrier entry points. And the other benefit if you're brand new is that there's also a lower expectation when someone spends $10 than if they spend $2,000 with you.
right.
The challenge is that you're also managing a larger volume of humans, but it creates upsell potential. So the cost of managing all those humans is the upsell potential if you're doing this really wisely. So those $10 products, $20 products, like those lower cost ones, are just a way for people to get more premium or quality content without having to actually think about if they can afford it, if it's worth it right now, if they have the time. So it's that kind of thing. I still one of my top selling products on megantelpner.com is a $12 7-day no sugar challenge. We sell a couple a day. Like that's not paying the bills, that's not, paying my staff, that's not covering any real expenses, but it's a value rich challenge for people that has mass appeal. It creates change in people's lives. It's a guided program. Um, and there's no barrier to doing it. It's a handheld holding program for people, and it gets them in the door with something that isn't just freely available on my blog or widely available to everyone. And so that's where that value lies. It's, someone either, coming to your front door and knocking on the door and you have a conversation on the porch, or they coming into your living room, and that product is bringing people into your living room.
So this is really, really smart. And this is not something I'm hearing a lot of professional course builders talking about. They're always talking about the high ticket, stop messing with the small stuff. But what you're saying here is build know, like, and trust with small product offers, small service offerings. Maybe you have some upsell potential, but you give them value up front, which kind of feeds your funnel. Like you said, roughly, I think you said 40% of the people that purchase your big courses, they've already been involved with the smaller courses, right? So that
Yes, I was just going to say, and we're doing our year in review right now because we just closed registration on our big course. And this past spring, we did a little experiment. We released what I would call an entry level culinary nutrition course. So it was a video based course. We sold it for, I believe, around $148. So of our registered students that we have right now, 20% of our students right now who spent over 2,000 did that course first.
mm,
So that in and of itself creates that value for those lower price things to get them in. I mean, if you're brand new and you're creating one of those high ticket $5,000, $10,000 courses, you have to have been exceptionally successful commercially in whatever it is you're trying to sell if anyone is going to buy that course from you, because
or
just
sleazy, right? Or
or
sleazy, yeah.
then you have to deal with a whole bunch of refunds or a whole bunch of disappointed people. But having either a track record of success in whatever it is you're now creating a course and selling on, or having that reputation you're building yourself for creating things of value. One or the other has to be there. But, out of the gate, taking a course on course creation, listening to amazing podcasts like what you offer from different experts, and then creating your $10,000 high ticket item, thinking you're going to launch it and go sit at the beach for the next 6 months and make $1 million is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's completely unrealistic.
at best it's short-term thinking, right? Because like you said, a bunch of people are going to take the course, you're going to get a 1% minus completion rate, and then your name is marred. And in a day where your digital presence, your personal brand means everything, don't sell yourself short. You gotta. So I really love the strategy of starting small, kind of like a crawl, walk, run type of theory, Megan. This makes a lot of sense. And of course, if you want to look more into creating amazing nutritional meals, you can go to megantelpner.com, where she's going to give away all these different tips. You can actually watch what she does, not just listen. So definitely check that out. Cool. So let's say we've gotten a plan together. We want to launch maybe a small course. What is a good step in actually charting out what type of content we want, right? We've gotten a bead from our audience. We kind of know what the pain points are. How can we actually start with the planning of our course?
Right. Great question. So I would look at specifically what those pain points are. And if you can pick 3 to 5 that are connected to each other, I would literally jot down 3 to 5 solutions for each of those 3 to 5
Mm,
pain points. And those become your modules or your components or your chapters or whatever it is. And then within each of those, write down exactly how you're going to solve them. So in my case, I did a course on everyday culinary nutrition. And the challenge was, how do we get people into the kitchen cooking healthy meals for their family and get over the idea that it's hard, it's complicated, it's expensive, I don't have time, no one's going to eat it, I waste so much food when I go shopping. And so those were the points I had to cover. And so straight away, I talk about, here's how you make your grocery shopping list super efficient. Here's how you plan so you don't throw out food at the end of the week. Here are 3 simple things that each take under 10 minutes to make that can form staples. Here are 3 breakfasts, here are 3 lunches, here are 3 dinners, here are 3 snacks, and each one has an infinite number of substitution options. So in this course, I have crossed out every pain point. I've checked them off. I've answered those questions. So for someone who wants this, they're going to look at it and be like, I have no more excuses. And I priced it well.
yeah, and
And
things
so
change over time, right? So as things change, how easy is it for you, Megan, to go in and make adjustments and add new pain points? Do you have to create new courses, or you just go in and adapt to your audience?
So far, I've been really fortunate. In my main signature program or flagship program, the Culinary Nutrition Expert Program, we refilmed it once since we've been offering it. And I've since had to modify a couple of the videos, adding in a few more course videos. But a really well thought out course solves a very specific issue
Mm.
that I don't want to say the problem has longevity, but it's not going away anytime soon. So, until in my case, everyone can afford a private chef, what I offer is never going away.
Right.
Um, and and you want to create that value rich thing because you don't want to have to keep going back in and tweaking and adjusting, because then the consistency changes, the quality shifts. Even if you're having it all professionally produced, you set up the lighting one day, the next day it's going to be different if you have a different crew or whatever it might
Mm.
be. So one of the most valuable things, the most expensive thing you can do is create the course. That's where most of your investment will go. What you want to be able to do is create something that it has so much depth and value and is so well thought out and so beautifully presented that you can sell that course year after year after year after year, because that's where you start actually earning that incredibly liberating extra revenue. Whether you're doing this as a side hustle, as you're talking about people working on this after hours, eventually it can become a full-time thing. But that might not happen the first time you sell it or the second time you sell it. The profit starts coming in after you've covered all your expenses for yourself and your time and production costs and all that stuff. So you want to create something that you can launch over and over and over again.
Well, this could be a challenge too, and probably something that all course creators should be considering when developing their course modules and the actual theme of their course, because the world is changing so quickly. If your course is built on how to build your Instagram following in 2020, you miss out on that longevity, right? You can't keep relaunching that because that's a very, as you've mentioned, time consuming and expensive thing to do.
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned social media. So I started in 2008. First of all, never put a year in anything you do ever. Like we used to have like course catalogs when you put the year into the URL, and then we're like constantly having to just update that URL instead of the file. So never put a year on anything, especially if it's 2020, because maybe no one wants to remember this one at the end. Anyway, but something to keep in mind is, and I just completely lost what I was going to say about creating things the
You're
year,
busy worrying
longevity.
about what's going to happen next in 2020 because we're only three-fourths
Oh,
of the way through. We still got another
right. It was
quarter.
about social media and something to anyone creating course in social media courses. The best practices for social media don't actually ever change. They never do. There's like
Hmm.
technical things that change, the platforms will change, but being engaged, being authentic, keeping it conducive to whatever it is you're trying to sell or promote or share, none of that has ever changed. The value of consistency, reliability, building that community there, engaging with that community doesn't change.
Yeah.
I've tried, I was on Vine and Periscope and all these things that don't exist. And, you mentioned YouTube. I don't think I've uploaded anything to YouTube in a long time just because a factor of time. But the same rules apply. And if
Yeah.
you create something really good about social media, it will remain valuable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's basically every social media platform is the same as far as the core principles: engagement, watch time, replies, likes, etc. But there's small tweaks like the number of hashtags that you use might be adjusted over time, and that could also depend on your platform, the time of day. There's a lot of
Yeah.
factors. Okay, cool. So that's some really important advice. Try to keep your course contextual on a long-term basis. Maybe have some small add-ons that you can adjust. That's one of the nice things about blogging, right? You can go back and you can adjust your blog and keep it up to date on an annual or semi-annual basis. That's an interesting thing to talk about. So, listen, Megan, we talked about a ton of different things here. How to create your course, thinking about your course considerations. I want to talk a little bit about back-end support, right? Because I have a feeling that that's one of the reasons why your course completion rate is so high. How important is that back-end support, and how are you actually serving your audience once they've purchased and started taking the modules?
Right. And it's a good question. And I've seen people promote courses like never make a sales call again, or, and I don't, I mean, I get it, but it depends on your objective. And my objective from the start was never to get as many people as possible through the door. I wanted as many people as possible going out the door together,
Mm,
meaning that they start together, they finish together. So in our high ticket courses, which I would say is, anything over $2,000, uh, everyone is assigned a dedicated program coach for our certification program. We have very specific deadlines for the curriculum, meaning that they have to do the work and hand it in. We have quizzes. There's everyone, in this program, everyone starts and finishes at the same time. So there's that group accountability and also that connection that happens amongst people going through something very challenging together. And the course is hard. Um, so, everyone signs up, they see the course curriculum, they start seeing the assignments, the outline, they panic a little bit, uh, and they continue on. And that's very, very specific. We sell more in quantity of spots in courses that don't have that level of commitment or guidance or support going through it. But there's always something, whether it's follow up emails or a Facebook group that forms while the course is running. There's always some level of connection and community so that people start to feel part of something. So it's not they're just like buying something and then they're completely left on their own. And I think there's a bit of a challenge to manage that effectively when you're doing evergreen type courses where you have a sales funnel and people are signing up and starting at all different times. And
mm.
I made a very conscious decision not to do it that way. I felt like we would probably get the same number of people over a year if we did it that way. However, we wouldn't have the same level of commitment from people and the same level of ambassadorship and loyalty and friendships formed, quite honestly, amongst people who go through the program together. And then we have our alumni who come back and they're constantly cheerleading for people and offering support. And the group starts to take care of itself in a really beautiful way. So those were all really important factors for what I created as a certification program. So I always remind my students, you bought the education, but you have to earn the certification by actually doing the work.
So you've got that carrot at the end of the line that they're chasing, that they really want to make sure that they get that reward. So you brought up, I think, a lot of really smart things here, Megan. Long term type stuff. You've actually created your course, your high end courses in a way that, hey, it starts at this date. We're only taking this many people, so you've got scarcity, you've got the time. The time is running out type feature going on, but you're also getting the sense of community, right? Which I think is lost in a lot of online courses now. A lot of online course builders, this dream is, like you said in the beginning of our interview here, is I'm just going to set up a course. It's going to be automated. I'm going to sit on a beach drinking daiquiris all day. Um, but I think what's made you successful is you've created this environment where the community is starting together. We're going through this together. We're doing these challenges, these difficult challenges together. But what I really love, and I'm wondering if you can kind of expand on this a little bit more, Megan, for the people that are maybe just joining and they're not really sure what they're expecting, they're joining maybe a Facebook group. You've got your alumni going in and saying, yes, this is the way to go. What are some other ways that you've gotten your community to really get in and get involved and help other people get acclimated?
Right. So we bring up, so for our program coaches, for example, so every term we hire 15 to 20 program coaches and each takes on an allotment of students. And those are all honors graduates of our program. So they come back in that way and support the students. And just out of sheer joy and love for the program and what it does for people's lives, every year we send out these welcome packages that include an obnoxiously bright orange t-shirt that say today is the day. And so our new students end up posting photos of themselves wherever they may live in the world with their t-shirts on. And so inevitably our alumni start chiming in being like, oh, I miss that program. I loved it when I did it. It's going to be tough. You guys can do it. And people will come in with their questions and alumni will answer them. And then we've also offered sort of a next level opportunity for our graduates to become certified instructors where they get a done for you package of classes they can teach. So those instructors sort of end up becoming senior level graduates who are out there teaching their own respective classes. And so there's just a lot of depth of experience. And, I talk about being able to sell a course over and over and over again. We first launched this online in 2013. I did it 3 times in person. So since 2013, people have established incredible businesses that have grown and thrived, and so they then become, unofficial or casual mentors for the new students coming in and demonstrating through their success what's possible.
I love this. I absolutely love this, Megan. You are just dropping tons of course building knowledge bombs. And for anyone out there that's thinking about getting to a course building and you're looking at everything that Megan has built, it's going to take a while, right? She's been doing this a long time, over 8 years. So just start, keep working it. And I love the idea of starting small. Start with a small offering and kind of build your authenticity that way. Megan, absolutely love this. Guys, before we get into the rapid fire here, you definitely want to check out Megan, megantelpner.com. The course is the Academy of Culinary Nutrition. I'm having a really hard time pronouncing that, but I'm going to get it eventually. Culinary is kind of a tricky word. Kind of like,
It
anyway.
is. All you have to remember is culinarynutrition.com.
Culinarynutrition.com. Meghan Telpner is going to help you meet your goals. Cool.
Yes.
So, Megan, strap in, get ready. It
No.
is rapid fire time. All right.
Rapid fire questions make me nervous.
It should be. These are very nerve wracking. So, I'm going to be asking about political affiliation, all types of other stuff. But before all that, let's get to what people really care about. What is a must have business item that everyone should have that costs less than $50?
Oh gosh. I'm like looking on my desk for what I have kicking around. A must-have business item that costs less than $50. Oh, I do have something, but I think it costs more than $50.
Let's see. What do you got? What do you
Okay,
got for
hold
us?
on. I'm going to show you.
Okay.
It is Heart Math, not affiliated with the company. A Heart Math device. Okay, so it goes into my phone, connects
Okay.
to my earlobe, and it tracks your coherence levels. So it actually tracks your ability to think clearly, your heart rate. So a 10-minute coherence practice will help you have a more successful day.
That is really, what's that called?
I think it's like $129. When I got it, this is a really old one. So it's the Heart Math Institute. There's tons of research on
Heart
this.
math.
You can get an app. And so every morning you basically clip this onto your earlobe. You start the session. So it just clips onto your earlobe. You start the session, you like think happy thoughts, radiate rainbows out of your heart or whatever you want to do. Think about a stream or the golf course, wherever your happy place is. And it brings you into coherence, which basically calms your mind, calms your heart rate, and allows you to think more clearly and more expansively.
Interesting.
And I think every business owner needs that because most business owners, especially self-employed ones or people who are trying to do this on a side hustle, sit down when they're ready to work in an absolute panic, wishing they had done every idea they've had yesterday. And if you
Mm.
can start calmly, you'll be far more productive.
Yeah, you're not wrong on anything there. I'm in total agreement. All right, cool. What is if you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
It's all going to work out.
I like that.
My husband and I joke often. We say to each other, I think we're on to something.
I like that. I mean, if hey, listen, positivity, it's so easy to get caught up in talking negative to yourself about yourself. Don't do it. It's not be nice to you. You deserve it.
Yes.
Be nice to you. What is a must-have subscription for you right now?
I am subscribed to actually, we just subscribed internally to an app, I guess you would call it, called Slab, like an internal wiki for the company. So all our internal documentation, whether you are a company of 1 or 10, start this now because for the longest time I had so much in my own brain and I became a massive barrier to progress and growth in the company because so much had to go through me or be checked by me. So we just started Slab and we're basically taking our time to go through and getting all of our documentation in there, FAQs on our programs, functions, pricings, launch strategies, stats on launches. Everything is in there. It's so easily searchable. It's been amazing. And I
I
think
love it.
it's only been 3 weeks.
I haven't heard of it, but I'm really glad to know about it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, final question here, Megan. If you had a billboard that could reach millions and millions and millions of people, what would you put on your billboard?
Today is the day.
Megan, I love that. Megan said it. I agree with it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.